Hello, my name is Dr. Jason Hayes, candidate for Lieutenant Governor right here in the great state of Georgia. I'm also the host for the podcast Beyond the Race. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that needs to be discussed: public health crisis, gun violence. Just recently, or this past week, Georgia has passed their version of a constitutional carry law. And essentially, now people here in Georgia can carry concealed firearms without a permit. So it's permitless carry. That's an issue. It's an issue for law enforcement and an issue for a lot of people here. I'm sure many of you have heard a lot of the stories where children are accidentally being shot. Parents or whoever it is that owns the guns are neglecting their duties of making sure that the guns are in a safe space where they're under supervision. Many children, I hear it all the time, getting shot, or a young child picks up a gun, thinks it's a toy, and shoots another child. And then also, we're always hearing stories about homicides and suicides by gun. That's an issue. It's something here that we all have to start taking a stance against. And I get it. There are people who are staunch constitutionalists and they say this their Second Amendment right. Well, no one's stopping you from purchasing a gun. No one's stopping you from having a gun. But all we're asking is looking at more gun safety. And that's an issue. So before I go any further, I just want to give some interesting, and I don't want to say interesting, some very sad statistics. So here in Georgia, the rate of gun deaths increased 25% from 2010 to 2019, compared to a 17% increase nationwide. The rate of gun suicides increased 16%, and gun homicides increased 47%, compared to 13% increase and 26% increase nationwide, respectively. I got this data from Everytown for Gun Safety. And get this, in terms of the cost of gun violence, Georgia has the 15th highest societal cost of gun violence in the United States at $1,153 per person each year. Gun deaths and injuries cost Georgia $12 billion, of which $581 million is paid by taxpayers. Gun deaths by intent in Georgia, 57% of gun deaths are suicide and 40% are homicides. This is compared to 60% and 38% nationwide, respectively. Now, whenever we look at gun homicides by race and ethnicity in Georgia, Black people lead 14.2 deaths per 100,000 people. Next, Latino at 3 deaths per 100,000 people. American, Alaskan Native Indians, 2.4 deaths per 100,000 people. Interesting statistics when we look at this. Very interesting statistics. So we as Americans have to start looking at solutions. Solutions are important. They're important whenever we're trying to figure out what to do. We need to save lives. I'm a physician, I'm a doctor. I also have a master's in public health. I study statistics. This is what I was trained to do. That's biostatistics and epidemiology. This is heartbreaking, not only from a statistical standpoint, but it's heartbreaking from a human standpoint. We must learn to preserve life as much as possible. And I know for some people, you're going to come with your political thoughts. You're going to come and say, well, what about this topic and that topic? Well, the topic we're talking about today is gun violence. We have to make sure that we're protecting young people. We have to make sure that, yes, crime needs to come down, but protecting people and reducing crime all has to come down to a function of looking at the reasons why we have crime, why we have violence, why we have suicide. We have to start looking at communities. We have to start looking at education. We have to start looking at bringing better jobs in communities. We have to start looking at mental health, which is the one of the most, if not the most important thing we need to be focused on, mental health. We need to have more emotionally intelligent people who can know how to deal with stress, know how to deal with anger, know how to problem solve situations. We have to start looking at mental health even more. People with depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. We have to start making a concerted effort to help people. Now, I get it. Those who are Second Amendment staunch, conservative, constitutionalists, I get it. You want to have the ability to protect yourself without being held down. And your argument is the criminals get access to guns. We should be able to protect ourselves. And I get it. I own a gun, but did it the right way. Purchased a gun legally, had my permit legally. Now, for me, I learned how to handle a gun. A lot of people here, especially in Georgia, they may not know how to handle a gun. So having the permit in place, one, especially with the background checks, having that in place, it puts people in a situation where you purchased a gun legally, but you go through the background checks. And also, it gives people time to think about the decisions that they're making. You purchase the gun. Are you making sure that the gun is properly stored? Are you making sure that only you have an access to it, you or your spouse or whoever it is, those are adults? Making sure that they're away from children. And if you have to use the gun, do you understand the laws with which to use them and how you can use them? Case in point. So in Tennessee, where I first purchased my legal firearm, Tennessee actually has you take a class. When you take a class, you learn about guns, you learn about bullets, you learn about how to legally use your firearm. So in Tennessee, you could not bring your gun with you to bars, parks, schools. Now that's critical, it's important. Also, you learn if someone breaks into your home. If someone is running away, you just can't shoot them in the back. They're running away, they're retreating. So if you used to shoot someone in the back, even in your own home, you could be arrested. That's right, you can be arrested. Now, for some people, they're saying, hey, they broke into my home. Well, you have to be careful. Again, the question comes into play, is deadly force, when is it necessary, when is it not necessary? The fact of the matter that now that here in Georgia, you could have gotten a permit without having training. Now you can get a gun without the permit. For me, running for lieutenant governor, I'm a doctor. I look at statistics. We need to understand the truths. Now, the data that we just looked at basically is observational data. It's data that's there. It's what's happening. But we need to look at cause and effect. And when we talk about cause and effect, when we do studies, those of us who are in the biostatistics, epidemiology space, public health space, we look at things called linear regression, Cox hazard. Those are modes with which how we study data, and it gives us cause and effect. So the question comes into play is, well, Dr. Hayes, why can't we study cause and effect right now? That is cause and effect of gun violence. An individual with whom are being affected. Where in 1996, there was a congressperson named Jay Dickey out of Arkansas. There is an amendment that was essentially named for him that forbade the Centers for Disease Control from studying gun violence, and it was heavily backed by NRA, that's the National Rifle Association. They did not want to have any laws or subsequently any funding used, as is federal funding used to study gun violence, or in their words, gun control. The problems I have with the NRA is that, yes, they're for the Second Amendment, but guess what? When Black people are killed, unjustly killed, you don't hear anything from them. When they're unjustly killed by police, when they're unjustly killed by citizens, you can't find these individuals. So right there, I am not for the NRA, will never be for the NRA. The fact of the matter is this: in order to make good decisions from a legislative perspective, you need data, and you need people who understand how to read data. So this SB 319 that was passed by Georgia House and also the Georgia Senate and signed into law by the governor is wrong. Now, some of you who are staunch constitutionalists, you're like, well, Dr. Hayes, you're against the Constitution. No, I'm not. I'm not against the Constitution. Someone breaks into your home, you could have your gun there. You can defend yourself. Castle doctrine, you can defend yourself. Someone breaks into your car, you're in the car, you can defend yourself. An extension of the Castle doctrine. But what we're talking about are people who are carrying guns, who have zero training, who may or may not have zero training, how to use the gun, who may or may not understand the laws with which how to use the gun. So now, going into bars, going into parks, you become inebriated, that is drunk, or you get upset, pulling out your gun, shooting people. By having gun permits in place, we at least are able to go through some background checks here in Georgia. But also, we're putting people in a situation where if they get upset or angry and they want to buy a gun, at least we're giving them an opportunity to simmer down. Now, what I would propose, or what I am proposing as Lieutenant Governor, now obviously powers, I would have to influence individuals in the state Senate, influence individuals in the state House, and also influence the governor and the American people here in Georgia, is that we bring back the requirement for a permit to purchase and carry a gun, but also make it a requirement to take a class on learning how to shoot the gun, that's handle it, also how to clean it, and also making sure that you have a gun safe that's under lock and key, making sure that the gun is away from children. That's right, children. I hear these stories all the time. Child being shot by another child, a 2-year-old shooting a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old shooting an 8-year-old because they think it's a toy. Yes, the parents or the gun owner is negligent, but we've got to start educating people on how to properly handle and store their firearms. Governor Brian Kemp should be ashamed of himself. Republican leadership should be ashamed of themselves. I said Republican leadership. That's right. And those of you who are Republicans who say, well, Dr. Hayes, you're wrong, or we need to have our constitutional rights protected. No one's taking away your constitutional rights, but you should be ashamed of yourself. This is bad. First thing we need to do, is that we need to call our United States senators and U.S. representatives. They need to strike down or have the Dickey Amendment removed. Now, yes, there were some provisions in 2018 when Donald Trump was in office, March 2018, where you can study some bits of gun violence. But guess what? There's still a cap. The Centers for Disease Control are still having difficulty having the ability to study gun violence, the ability to study it in urban areas, rural areas, breakdown on age, or breakdown on demographic wise, we say age, also demographic wise, race, social economic status. We have to look at all of this. Right now, Everyone is giving their opinion, but we need stats, we need statistics in order to make good decisions. I'm tired of people saying using statistics to their benefit, but when we need to have statistics to the overall greater good, you don't want to use them. I'm going to make this very clear to those who are listening. I am not trying to take away your guns. I am not trying to take away your ability to carry a gun. I am not trying to take away your ability to protect yourself. But we need to be in a position where we're educating the public. The public understands guns, how to use them, how to store them, how to properly use them, how to properly clean them. And the only way to do that is to make sure that you have a requirement for a permit and a requirement to make sure that people take a course before they purchase the gun and before they actually get the permit. Georgia leadership, you're hurting us. Brian Kemp, you're hurting us. Republican leadership, those who did vote for this SB 319 and put it into law, you're hurting us. You're hurting children. Now we got to get to the root cause of gun violence. Yes, guns don't kill people. People kill people. That's right. And some people are confused by what I just said. I just said we need to have permits and we need to teach people how to properly use the guns, take the class, get the permit, then you can purchase. But yes, people kill people. So we have to start looking at the root cause. So socioeconomic status, poverty, economically depressed communities. Yes, you see violence there, you see homicides. Also, when we, again, backtracking again, when we talk about mental health, people are committing suicide. So we need to start making mental health a priority. As a part of my platform, my healthcare platform, I talk a lot about federally qualified health centers. I talk a lot about making sure that we get communities to apply for public health service grant, Section 330, get federally qualified health centers, can focus on mental health, we can focus on substance abuse. We also have to start teaching emotional intelligence in the school systems, teach young people how to deal with stress, how to deal with anger. That's important. And also adults, we need to start teaching adults this as well. When you're going to your doctor, talk about your feelings, talk about your stresses. If you have stress, we have to get you to a therapist. And if you're having mental health issues, depression, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia, you need therapy, but you also may need treatment with medications. We need to focus on better mental health for people. We also need to focus on building all communities up. I do talk in my economic growth plan that we need to focus on job skills, community job hiring, community job training. Ask corporations to invest in communities. Get a Georgia level small business association so that young people and also people at any age can go in and say, hey, I want to start a business. I need help with starting a business plan. I need help with obtaining funding, how to get debt financing from the bank, or how to get angel investors to help me start my business. I need help with getting an accountant, getting a lawyer, a tax attorney, and how to use the right proper tax classification for my business. When we do this, communities get better, infrastructure gets better, young people have job opportunities after school, during the summer. Crime goes down. And yes, we do have to be tougher on crime. We have to be tougher on making sure guns, illegal guns, that is, black market guns, are not put in the hands of criminals, not put in the hands of young people. We need programs like a 100 Black Men, like Big Brothers and Big Sisters, who are there helping young people who may come from disadvantaged communities or broken homes, where they can have a mentor to work with and to help them deal with everyday situations. Yes, I know some people don't like programs. You say, well, programs this and programs that. Well, we have to learn to invest in people, invest in human capital. When we invest in people and human capital, we make society better. Because if you don't invest in human capital, human people, if you don't invest in people, you're going to pay for it one way or another. Crime, suicides, homicides, rising occupancy in the jails, the prison industrial complex. I'm asking the American people here in Georgia, but also the American people here, coast to coast, we have got to start investing in people. And the first way to do that is to make sure you get good leaders from your community, support them for political office, whether it's on the city level, the county/parish level, Louisiana, state level, national level. We have got to get real people from our communities. I use this term, this slogan, and I say, I'm not here for a party, I'm here for people. I want people to use this slogan, this term, and make it a part of you. Be about people. When we're about people, we change culture. We have got to get good people elected in the office who are about people. Because clearly, right now here in Georgia, we have Republican leadership who wants to complicate things. They want to complicate things in the Black community, the Latino community, the Asian community. They want to complicate things in their community. School shootings. If we don't focus on mental health, if we don't focus on emotional intelligence, you're going to have an uptick in school shootings. But those of you who are saying, well, Dr. Hayes, you don't know that. Of course, I don't know that. We can't study the statistics. So you're keeping our hands tied behind our back. Again, we got to make sure we get good community leaders to go into office, run for public service, so we can make sure that we don't have these laws like this. We got to get SB 319 repealed on the state level. We have to get the Dickey Amendment repealed on the federal level. We've got to make sure that mental health is important. We stress it in our schools, clinical social workers available. Stress emotional intelligence with young people. Make sure people have access to their doctors. So if they're having mental health issues, they can get the proper referral to therapists, the proper referral to psychiatrists, psychologists. Build up communities, community job hiring, community job training. Teach young people about skills, that's trade skills in high school. Teach them about personal finance. Teach them about small business ownership and emotional intelligence. So when they're going out into the world, they can start their own job, their own company, their own businesses, and then to show the younger children how it's done. They're being leaders in their communities. We have got to do better, America. We've got to do better, Georgia. We have got to do better. This is why I'm running for office. I'm not here for a party. I'm here for people. I know why I'm here. But we need all of you to understand why you are here. And we need people the American people here in Georgia, American people to start investing in human capital. Let's do better, America. Let's do better, Georgia. Let's do better, the world. We have got to do better. We've got to make sure that we're reducing crime, we're reducing violence, we're reducing gun violence. Focus on emotional intelligence, focus on better mental health, getting access to your doctors, making sure that we make health insurance affordable, whether it's through Medicaid expansion or coming up with the new healthcare system or better health insurance that's not ripping off people. There's a congressperson, Jahana Hayes, who actually is championing a bill right now that will make sure we get rid of junk health insurance plans where people, when they buy these plans, they're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month, but when they come in to see the doctor, it's not covering their bills. The doctors aren't getting paid. So kudos to her for doing that. We need more of this. We've got to make sure we have well-informed political leadership, people who focus on public service and not focus on titles. Again, my job is to make sure I take care of people. This is what I do as a physician, and this is what I'm going to do as Lieutenant Governor right here in the great state of Georgia. I will be targeting SB 319. I will target SB 319. I will do my best to work with the governor, state senate, and state legislature to get SB 319 removed. That's Georgia's constitutional carry permitless bill removed. Get that law removed and focus on bringing back, making it a requirement for people to have a class on gun ownership, on how to use the gun, clean the gun, what are the proper laws with using the gun, making sure you do not have your guns in parks, make sure you do not have your guns in schools, on school property, make sure you don't have your guns in bars. Then get your permit. Make the permit every 5 years. Got to get it renewed. Make sure that you're getting your background checks on the state level. Now, on the federal level, we're still doing background checks. I thank God that we still have that. And again, we have to be tougher on crime. We've got to make sure that guns are not on the street, that is black market guns. We have to educate our young people. We have to get them away from gang activity. We have to get them with opportunities to be productive. We have to help individuals in communities of need with job opportunities. We got to focus on emotional intelligence. We've got to get back to doing what's right for people. As I close, I want people to know that I care about people. This is why I got into medicine. This is why I became a doctor. But we need everyone focused on what they can do to help people. Again, we have to continue to invest in human capital. We have to change culture. Gun violence is a public health epidemic, and we must make sure that we have solutions. We have got to repeal the Dickey Amendment. We have got to repeal SB 319. I want to thank everyone for listening to this podcast, allowing me to express myself. And I hope that you have learned something as I am continuously learning as well. Again, my name is Dr. Jason Hayes, candidate for Lieutenant Governor, and also your host and executive producer of Beyond the Race. I hope you have a great one. Bye-bye.